Hello, change makers. I'm Dr. Stacy, your Mindset Live trainer for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, quick question. Have you ever been told by your doctor that maybe you needed to make some changes? Maybe lose weight, or get your blood sugars or your blood pressure down? Or maybe you told yourself, I need to make a change. But once you start actually thinking about how to do it, you have a hard time picturing yourself actually doing the things you're supposed to do. Or maybe you say to yourself right away, yeah, right, I can't or won't ever do that, ever. I see it all the time from my side of the exam room. For instance, a patient comes in for follow-up on a test result, and the news sometimes isn't that good. But, as I tell them, with certain nutrition and dietary changes and exercise, we can avoid putting you on medication. I then watch a series of thoughts and emotions flitter across my patient's face. And often at the end of the visit, here comes the request for the medication after all. Why? It's because they have been presented with a crossroads, and that requires significant amount of lifestyle change. Oftentimes, the reason we resist change or we struggle with the in-the-moment choices is because the choices we think we're supposed to make don't really fit with our sense of who we are, our self-identity. They just don't feel like me. And that is what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into this further, and as more people arrive, let's start, as we always do, with our Mindset Live tradition of gratitude. Gratitude is so important for our mental, our emotional, and even our physical health. It lowers our cortisol levels, it lowers stress, it boosts our immune function. So it's important to identify what you are grateful for every single day. And don't forget to use the gratitude and intention feed in the app that you can find on your Connect page. But now I want to hear from you. So using your chat box right there at the bottom of the screen, please share with us one thing, it can be big, it can be small, that you are grateful for. Okay, so, I'll start. I'm going to go first. I am grateful for a quiet cup of tea in the morning before the rest of the house wakes up. So now it's your turn. Let us know what you are grateful for. Let's see here. So we have one change maker is here, grateful for a new laptop. I need a new laptop too. Thank you for that. Let's see. We also have someone is grateful for their garden, which is amazing. And someone else here is grateful that they are able to be healthy during a pandemic, which is a thing that we are all praying for every single day. So thank you for that. Let's see. Someone else we have here is grateful for the rain. Thank you. Yes, thank you all so much for sharing and helping us all stay connected, especially in this time of social distancing and isolation. And it is with that sense of gratitude, we are going to get started with our topic for today. So, one of the problems that comes when we think about making a big change is that our brain doesn't have time to get on board with what that change might mean for our self-image. So I'm not talking about your fashion sense, although that plays a role into your self-image as well. But I'm talking about those lightning fast decisions that you make throughout your day about whether something feels right to you, whether it feels like you. So our brain is constantly consulting with our self-created identity or image to make sense of the world and to form reactions based on that. So here's a simple example. Have you noticed that when you go to the bookstore or you visit a magazine rack, that you only see the magazines that you want to read? If you're not interested in motorcycles, you don't even notice the motorcycle magazines, even though there may be a whole shelf of them. But your fast brain actually acknowledges that motorcycle magazine and almost instantaneously tags it as not you. So it doesn't even register in your conscious mind. Now, this can be a problem when we're asked to make changes that just don't feel like you. For example, there are things that some people perceive as not part of themselves or not part of their culture. So they immediately dismiss it as not me. For instance, like seeing a therapist. Now, in my practice, I often recommend psychotherapy for patients who are having some difficulty overcoming some of their health challenges. But many people see therapy as an automatic not me. It's just not part of their culture. It's not part of what they do. And it's hard for them to embrace this often positive behavior. Self-image is sort of like an operating system in a computer. It's always running in the background of your mind. All the behaviors you do by default, the good ones and the bad ones, basically run on top of this operating system. New behaviors, like suddenly trying to eat salad every day when you've never really liked raw vegetables, or maybe deciding you're going to do early morning workouts, even though you love staying out late, are all kind of like a foreign virus to that operating system. And your brain decides, without you necessarily even noticing, that this is not me. And that makes it really hard to make choices that fit with your self-image. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What operating system is currently running in your head right now that might make it hard to pull off some of the changes you're looking to make? So I'm going to start. I'm going to give you an example from my own life. So after a pretty bad injury, my orthopedic surgeon said that I needed to do yoga classes to strengthen the muscles in my back. Now, the operating system running in my head automatically screamed, not me, not me. Like, I don't do groups. I'm a private person. I hate gyms. And I definitely don't do yoga. I have this image in my head of yoga people, and I ain't one of them. So getting me to make my classes regularly was a constant struggle. So let me hear from you. What are some of the operating systems running in your head that you feel may be blocking you from making positive change? So use the chat box right there at the bottom of your screen and share with us. Let us know what's going on there. So we have one of our change makers. Says, I don't like drinking smoothies or eating soup because I don't feel full or like I have eaten anything if it is not actual food. Very, very important point, and definitely something that can get in the way of making some healthy changes. Let's see. We have another one of our change makers who says, eating fruits and vegetables is hard because I've been meat and potatoes my entire life. I hear that all the time in my medical practice. And I'm from Texas, so I can completely relate to that one. Another change maker, I can't follow any diet that restricts carbs. And that also could be an issue when you're trying to stay healthy because remember, broccoli is carbs, vegetables are carbs. So that's definitely something that needs to be overcome. And we have one more person here. I don't do exercise and I don't like to sweat. Well, I can definitely relate to that. And that can inhibit a lot of good positive changing because we all need exercise and motion in some respect. So, thank you all for sharing those things with us. And so, now is the important part. How do you make changes in your life that your self image will allow you to get on board with? That's the $1,000,000 question. So, one thing to do, and it's an important thing, is to start small and take it slowly. And I'm going to repeat that. Start small and take it slowly. That self-image that you have is made of a lot of well-worn neural networks in your brain of thoughts, emotions, behaviors. It's been going on your entire life, and changing it is going to take time. So you want to make your new habits small so you can repeat them successfully. And then your self-image will start to absorb and identify with that new habit. So, for example, if you need to reduce your sugar intake, but your self-image tells you, I've got a serious sweet tooth, what is the smallest thing you can try? Maybe you start by eating smaller servings of dessert, or you limit sweets to once a day treat, or maybe every other day indulgence. And you do that for a while until your brain has had a chance to catch up. Then you can build on that habit of reducing sweets. Maybe eventually you can swap out your water for soda at lunch, or maybe sweeten your coffee with stevia instead of sugar. And so slowly, your brain is going to start to get used to these new patterns. And over time, your self-image shifts until that self-image of, I have a serious sweet tooth, may not actually be quite so true. So for me, we're talking about my issue with yoga, I decided to start with a one-on-one class with a private yoga instructor instead of a big class. That was one way I could get around my operating system in my brain. Okay, so, and we see one of our change makers has added, yes, they hate sweating also. So that's good because that's something we all have in common. And if we're trying to get healthy, especially with exercise, we're all gonna have to overcome that one. Okay, so another thing that you can do in order to design for your self-image is behavior design, where you take some time to use your conscious brain to set things up so that your autopilot unconscious brain, which often is the one who's making those quick moment-to-moment decisions, can easily make the choices you want it to make. Okay, so for example, let's say you love salty, crunchy snacks like chips and crackers and pretzels, things that ain't quite so good for us. When you're hungry and you've got a bag of chips on the counter, your lightning fast autopilot brain will consult with your self-image and make a beeline to that bag before your conscious brain has a chance to say, hey, hold up, wait a second, remember, we ain't eating chips no more, remember that? So one behavior design that you can do for yourself is to get those chips out of sight. Store them in the back of the cabinet, or maybe even in the garage, or you can just not bring them in the house at all. Use the out of sight, out of mind principle. So another behavior design could be to find a healthier substitute for those chips that will at least pass some of the salty, crunchy self-image tests that your brain engages in. Maybe you could be satisfied with a bowl of lightly salted popcorn or kale chips or almonds, or maybe some super crisp veggies like carrots or peppers with some hummus dip, and that would provide a crunch and a big flavor. So for me and my yoga, now I hated yoga, but I love music. So playing some music that I liked actually started to change yoga into not quite so much of a not me thing. That's how I designed. So finally, be prepared to iterate. And that just means changing things up if something doesn't work, or build on it as you find your success. So remember, if a new behavior doesn't work for you, it's not a sign of failure. It is just a sign that that behavior doesn't work for you, at least not right now. So keep experimenting, keep exploring, get curious, get creative, make the behavior smaller, or just simply try a different approach. Remember, you've been you your whole entire life, including all the default behaviors tied to your self-image. So cut yourself some slack when change doesn't happen overnight. Meet yourself and your self-image where you are today and move slowly and compassionately towards the behaviors that you want. Your self-image will catch up, I promise. So everyone, that's it for today. And we started this session with gratitude, and we end our sessions with our call to generosity. And this is our way that we can pay it forward with kindness. So today, I ask that you show an act of kindness to yourself. If there is something that you have been struggling to stay on track with, whether it is about weight or diet or finances or your job or whatever it is, today I invite you to cut yourself some slack. Show yourself some kindness and some patience. And remember, change takes time, so don't beat yourself up. Thank you once again for joining me today. And until next week, please stay safe and take care of yourself and each other. Bye-bye for now.